Beep, beep, beep. That sound, that monotonous, cold sound, like a hammer striking a coffin, telling me I'm not dead yet. Or maybe I am already dead and this is hell, a white hell reeking of antiseptic and betrayal. I am Robert Sterling. People call me Mr. Sterling, the real estate mogul, the old lion of the Midwest. But right now, I'm just a motionless lump of flesh in an intensive care unit bed. My eyes are closed, heavy as if they had 2 stones resting on them. My limbs are numb. Not a single muscle obeys the commands of my brain. Locked-in syndrome. The doctor whispered that in my ear 3 days ago. My body is a prison, but my mind is still awake, sharp, and screaming in silence. Damn it, hurry up. If the old man twitches a finger, this whole show falls apart. Just press his thumbprint on it and we're done. That voice tore through the darkness of my mind. It's Julian, my son, the only boy I prayed to God so hard for. I feel a sticky, sweaty hand grab my left wrist. It's rough, merciless. It's not the grip of a son worried about his father. It's the grip of a butcher weighing a pig before the slaughter. Relax, Julian. Technically, he's a vegetable. Dr. Mitchell said the chances of him waking up are less than 5%. With this signature, the estate and the offshore accounts in Switzerland are yours today. That's the voice of Arthur Pierce, the corporate attorney I fired 2 years ago for embezzlement. Why the hell is he here? Anger erupts in my chest like volcanic ash. I want to get up. I want to slap this ungrateful son across the face and break that dirty lawyer's hand. Open your eyes, Robert, open them. I order myself, but it's useless. Not a single eyelid flutters. I am a prisoner in my own flesh, forced to be a spectator in the most tragic play of my life. I feel my thumb being twisted backward. Then they press it hard against a scratchy surface, an ink pad. After that, they stamp it onto a piece of stiff, heavy paper. Done. We got it. Julian lets out a breath, his voice trembling with excitement, not fear. Are you sure this will hold up, Pierce? Like solid gold, kid. Your father just signed over total control of Sterling Enterprises. Now we just have to wait for nature to take its course. Or give it a little push. They laugh. A couple of mocking, vile snickers echo in the quiet hospital room. God, it hurts. It's not physical pain. It's the agony of an old heart being ripped to pieces. Who did I spend my whole life building this empire for? For the wolf standing next to my bed, waiting to feast on my corpse? My God, if you exist, give me one chance, just 1 minute, to teach this unnatural son his final lesson. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments below. In the infinite darkness of the coma, memories are all I have left. They hit me all at once, more vivid than ever. I remember my hands, not these soft, pale hands resting on the hospital sheets, but Robert's hands at 20 years old, hands covered in cuts, stained with motor oil and grease. Back in those days, Martha, my poor, late wife, and I started with nothing but a hot dog and Italian beef stand on a corner of Halsted Street in Chicago. We worked from sunrise to sundown. I remember the cold that pierced right to the bone on those freezing, windy Chicago nights, when I had to use my own body to shield the charcoal grill so it wouldn't go out. I remember the burns on my fingers from flipping burgers on the scorching cast iron. Look at these hands, Martha, I told her one night while counting our quarters. Someday these hands will build you a palace. And I kept my word. From the food stand, I opened an auto repair shop. From the shop, I bought lots. From the dirt, I raised high-rises. Every dollar I made was soaked in sweat and blood. I fought against hunger, against dirty competition, even against the local mobsters who wanted to shake us down for protection money, all to protect my family. It was all for Julian. When Martha was pregnant with Julian, I swore, my son will never suffer like I did. He will have the soft hands of an artist, of an intellectual, not the calloused hands of a bricklayer. What irony! God help me. That very vow became my death sentence today. Julian grew up wrapped in bubble wrap. He never knew what hunger was. He never knew the humiliation of getting on his knees to beg a landlord for a rent extension. His hands are soft, perfectly manicured. They only know how to grip the steering wheels of sports cars and expensive crystal glasses. Now, those same spoiled hands just forced mine to sign the death warrant to take everything away from me. Disgust rises in my throat. I created a monster. I gave him the fish, the best Alaskan salmon, the finest tuna, but I never taught him how to hold the fishing pole. And now that the fish is gone, that shark has turned around to eat the man who fed him. The click-clack of heels shatters my thoughts. A heavy perfume assaults my nose, masking the smell of medicine. It's Chloe, my daughter-in-law. A viper with the face of an angel. "Julian, baby, did he sign?" Her voice is sickeningly sweet but ice-cold. "Yeah, honey, we own everything now," Julian replies, and I hear them making out loudly right over my bed. Awesome, because I saw a villa in Palm Beach that I am absolutely obsessed with, and I'm so sick of coming to this hospital to look at the vegetable. It smells like old man. I want to cry, but my tear ducts don't respond. Vegetable. That's what they call me, the man who bought them the mansion they live in, the Mercedes they drive. The pain in my heart morphs into something else. Something colder, harder. It's no longer sadness. It's pure hatred. If I survive this, I swear, on Martha's memory, I am going to teach them the true cruelty of these calloused hands. I built this empire out of thin air, and with these same hands, I can tear it to shreds before I let it fall into the claws of these vultures. Martha, my love, forgive me. I failed you. In the pitch blackness trapping my body, Martha's image appears as clear as if she were right here. She was always the tender one, the one who stepped in the middle whenever I wanted to be tough on Julian. "He's just a boy, Robert. Let it go," she would always say when Julian broke some expensive toy out of sheer boredom. When Julian turned 18, he got drunk and crashed a brand new Porsche into a convenience store storefront. Luckily, no one was killed, but the kid was pale with terror. The cops showed up, slapped the cuffs on him. Martha cried uncontrollably, begging me, "Save him, Robert. Don't let my baby go to jail." And I, out of pure love for my wife, threw cash at the problem. A lot of cash. I paid off the store owner, bribed the precinct captain, had the record expunged. Julian walked out of the police station without a scratch, and worst of all, without a single ounce of remorse. He laughed in my face. "See, Dad? Money fixes everything." At that moment, I should have slapped the taste out of his mouth, but I didn't. I just sighed and wrote the check. That was the biggest mistake of my life. Then, at 25, came the gambling. Vegas. He owed millions of dollars to the mob. They mailed a severed fake finger to the house as a threat. It scared Martha so badly it triggered a massive heart attack. That time, I had to liquidate a downtown office building to pay off his debt, but the money wasn't the steepest price. The steepest price was losing Martha. She died of heart failure shortly after. Before taking her last breath, she squeezed my hand, her eyes already cloudy. "Promise me you'll take care of our boy, Robert. He's all we have left. Don't abandon him." That promise has kept me chained for the last 5 years. I tolerated his laziness. I put him in the company, gave him the title of Director of Strategy, even though he doesn't know how to do anything but spend. I held out hope that love would change him, but I was wrong. I raised a snake, and now it's biting me. Julian isn't just spoiled, he's rotten to the core. And Chloe, that woman, was the gasoline that turned his malice into a felony. I remember the fight exactly 1 week before my accident. Julian stormed into my home office, his face flushed, reeking of bourbon. "I need cash, Dad." "It's a guaranteed investment." "Investment? Or is it another gambling debt, Julian?" "I'm not giving you another dime. We're done. Are you going to work, or are you going out on the street?" I slammed my fist on the desk, screaming. For the first time in my life, I truly put my foot down. The look he gave me in that moment, now I understand it. It wasn't a look of disappointment. It was a murderous glare. "You're going to regret this, you cheap old bastard. All of this will be mine sooner or later," he hissed, and stormed out. 2 days later, I had the accident. Laying in this freezing ICU room, I realize a bitter truth. Julian isn't just a bad son. He is poisoned fruit. And I was the one who watered the tree so it would grow that way. The promise to Martha. "Forgive me, Martha. I can no longer take care of him the way you wanted. To save his soul, I have to destroy his greed, even if it costs me my entire fortune." My mind starts rewinding the tape of that fatal day, like a detective piecing together clues in the dark. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. I was driving my old but faithful Ford pickup truck, heading up the twisting mountain roads to check on the cabin in the Catskills. I like driving myself. Feeling the control of the steering wheel makes me feel young. The hairpin turn at Devil's Elbow, that's where it all happened. I remember clearly that I was going downhill at about 40 miles per hour. I stepped on the brake to slow down before the curve. The pedal went straight to the floor, soft as butter. I stomped harder. Nothing. The pedal hit the floorboards without any resistance. Brake failure? Impossible. I am an extremely meticulous man. I take that truck in for service every single month. Besides, I started out as a mechanic. I know my truck better than I know myself. The vehicle launched forward like a wild, out-of-control beast. The sheer cliff face appeared before my eyes. I only had enough time to jerk the steering wheel hard toward the rock wall to avoid flying off the ravine. Bang! The sound of metal screeching against stone. The airbag exploded in my face. Everything went black. Now, lying here, I remember a crucial detail, a detail that makes my blood run cold. 2 days before the crash, Julian came by the house. He rarely visited unless he needed money, but that day, he was acting weird. He was playing the concerned son, asking about my health. "Dad, your truck is looking pretty beat up. Why don't you buy a new one?" he asked. "I like this one. It's got character," I replied. "Well, at least let me take it to a buddy's shop to have the brakes and tires checked out. I don't want anything happening to you on the highway," he insisted. And I, like a stupid old fool, was touched. I thought my son finally cared about his old man. I tossed him the keys. He took the truck for a whole day. When he brought it back, he was smiling. "All set, Dad. Drives like it's brand new." Brand new. Sure. So brand new it sent me straight to hell. The door to the hospital room opens again. Whispers interrupt my memories. "It's Julian and Chloe again. What if he wakes up?" The mechanic said the cuts on the brake lines were obvious if anyone looked hard enough. Chloe's voice is laced with nerves. My heart skips a beat. The cuts. My own ears heard those words. It wasn't a mechanical failure. They cut the brakes. "Shut up, you idiot." Julian hisses with absolute cruelty. Nobody is going to investigate the death of a 70-year-old man on a dangerous mountain road. The police report says, mechanical failure. I paid good money for that. The truth is completely naked. My son wasn't just waiting for my death. He tried to kill me. He planned a patricide. The pain of betrayal I felt earlier vanishes. In its place is an absolute 0-degree cold, like steel tempered in ice. If they think I'm some little lamb waiting for the slaughterhouse, they are dead wrong. They forgot who I am. I am Robert Sterling. I survived the roughest neighborhoods in Chicago. I've had guns pointed at my head and didn't even blink. You want a war? Fine. A war is exactly what you'll get. Day 5 after the accident, and day 2 since they forged my signature, my body starts sending strange signals. An electric current runs down my spine. The pinky finger on my right hand twitches. I focus all my willpower into my eyes. Open them. Open them now. My eyelids weigh a ton, but they begin to unstick. The fluorescent light blinds me and stings. I see the white ceiling drop into view. Julian is sitting on the room's sofa, scrolling on his phone with his feet propped up on the table. He's chuckling under his breath at some stupid video. I want to scream, murderer. I want to lunge at him and strangle him. But survival instinct, the same instinct that has kept me alive for 70 years, stops me dead in my tracks. If I wake up right now, totally lucid, and accuse him, what's going to happen? He has control of the assets. He has money, lawyers, and corrupt cops in his pocket. I am weak, stuck in a hospital bed. An injection of the wrong medicine, or a pillow over my face at midnight. It would be too easy for him right now. No, the old lion doesn't roar when he's wounded, he stalks. I make an instant decision. I'm going to play the vegetable. I open my eyes wider, but purposely let my gaze go completely vacant. Empty, dumb. I let my jaw go slack, leaving my mouth hanging half open like an idiot. Julian glances up and sees me. He jumps up and drops his phone. Holy shit! The curse slips out from pure shock. He approaches slowly, carefully, like someone checking to see if roadkill is actually dead. "Dad? Can you hear me?" I blink slowly, looking straight through him as if I have no idea who he is. I force meaningless, guttural sounds from my dry throat. Duh. Julian lets out a heavy sigh of relief. He smiles, a fake, nauseating smile. "Dad! Thank God! We thought we were losing you," he says loudly, acting overjoyed so the nurses outside will hear him. But his eyes are scanning me, hunting for any spark of intelligence. Do you know who I am? It's Julian, your son. I look at him. I look at those eyes identical to Martha's, but housing the soul of the devil. I want to spit in his face, but I hold it in. Whoa. Who are you? I whisper, my voice cracked and thick. Julian's smile widens. It's the smile of a winner. He thinks my brain is fried. He thinks I'm just a breathing, harmless, stupid lump of meat now. I'm Julian, Dad. Don't worry. Get some rest. I'll take care of everything. He emphasizes the last word, patting me on the cheek like an old dog. He turns around to call for the doctor, whistling a tune. He thinks he already won, but he doesn't know what's coming. Behind these glassy eyes, a brutal vengeance is brewing. Enjoy it, son. Laugh while you can, because I promise you, the tears you are going to shed will be endless. The private ambulance parks in front of the Sterling estate. The black wrought iron gates swing open, but it doesn't feel like coming home anymore. It feels like entering enemy territory. I'm in a wheelchair, my head slumped to the side, my arms dangling. I have to maintain the role of the paralyzed, senile old man who suffered brain damage from the crash. The nurse pushes me into the grand foyer. What greets me isn't the warmth of the home Martha and I built with so much care. What the hell is this? The cream-colored walls have been painted a sterile, cold gray that soulless, minimalist-style kids today call modern. But what squeezes my heart isn't the paint, it's the empty spaces. Right where Martha's oil portrait used to hang, the one where she wore that beautiful emerald green dress for our 25th anniversary, there is only a bare wall. Where? Martha? I stutter on purpose, pointing a trembling hand at the wall. Julian walks in behind me, hands in his pockets, smacking his gum loudly. He looks at the wall, then at me with profound annoyance. Oh, Dad, don't start with your delusions. Mom died years ago. We put that old painting in storage so it wouldn't collect dust, plus it clashed with the new decor. Clashed. He dares to say his mother's memory clashes. They wheel me through the living room. My favorite Italian leather recliners are gone. Now there are these stiff, hard, white block-like couches. The oak bookcases where I kept my classic model cars are empty. Now there are just overpriced, abstract statues that mean absolutely nothing. This is no longer my house. It's Julian and Chloe's stage. They erased my traces, and Martha's, before I even stopped breathing. Take him to the downstairs room, the maid's quarters, Chloe yells from the top of the sweeping staircase. She's painting her nails, not even bothering to look up at her father-in-law who just returned from the brink of death. What? Julian frowns, but not to defend me. We're not bringing him up to his master suite. Are you crazy? I'm not going to have nurses going up and down the stairs all day. Besides, he smells like medicine. I don't want that stench near our bedroom. The maid's room next to the kitchen is fine. It has its own bathroom and it's far away from us, she answers, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. The maid's room. They are putting me the owner of this mansion. The man who paid for every single brick in the cramped servants' quarters next to the noisy kitchen. I let my head drop onto my chest, pretending to fall asleep to hide the violent trembling of my clenched fists hidden under the blanket. That's fine. Despise me. Throw me in the corner by the kitchen. A cornered dog is the most dangerous kind. You raised a snake, but you forgot that this snake is highly venomous. I let the nurse wheel me into the tiny room, which smells of cooking grease and dampness. Lying on the stiff cot, I stare at the cracks in the ceiling. Martha, we lost the house. But I swear to you, I will take back every single brick, or I will burn it to the foundation before I let them enjoy it over our bones. A week passed. A week that felt like a century. I have learned to control my body perfectly for this role. I know how to let drool drip from the corner of my mouth without wiping it away. I know how to stare into the void for hours. I know how to pee my pants when they take too long, just to see the utter disgust on their faces when they have to clean it. But the humiliation at tonight's dinner was the straw that broke the camel's back. Today, the housekeeper had the day off. Chloe had to feed me, complaining the whole time. She didn't let me sit at the main dining table. She shoved my wheelchair into a dark corner of the dining room, like someone tossing aside a broken vase. At the grand mahogany table, Chloe and Julian are feasting on filet mignon and red wine. In front of me, a bowl of watery, cold butternut squash soup. Here, eat fast. I want to watch my show. Chloe shoves the spoon into my hand roughly. I grip the spoon, making my hand tremble. It's part of the act, but it's also partly true because my muscles still aren't at 100%. Purposely, I load the spoon full, and just as it reaches my mouth, I jerk my hand. Clang! The spoon hits the floor. The soup slops all over my pajamas, dripping down onto the gleaming imported hardwood floor. "Oh, for the love of God!" Chloe screams, throwing her cloth napkin down. She jumps up and storms over to me. "You are completely useless. Look at what you did. Those floors are imported from Italy." She doesn't care if I got burned. Even though the soup was ice cold, her only concern is her floor. Julian doesn't even flinch. He sips his wine, not taking his eyes off his iPhone. "Relax, babe. The maid will clean it up tomorrow." "No, Julian, I can't take it anymore," Chloe hisses. She digs her acrylic nail into my forehead, violently shoving my head backward. "Your father is a burden. He drools, he wets himself. And now he's throwing his food like a toddler. He smells like an old man, like death. It makes me sick to even eat near him." I look at her. I open my eyes wide, faking terror. But deep down, I am recording every word, every gesture, every ounce of her contempt. "Put it on the tab, Robert. Write it all down." Chloe pulls out her phone and calls someone, right there in front of me, as if I were a deaf piece of furniture. "Yeah, Mom. Yeah, it's unbearable. No, the evil old bastard still hasn't died yet." "Yeah, I know." As soon as Julian gets total control of the accounts, we're shipping him off to a state-run nursing home. One of those cheap Medicare ones where they strap them to the bed. Then we're selling this old dump and moving to Palm Beach. Yeah. I already looked at first-class tickets. A state-run nursing home. Strapped to a bed. My blood boils. They don't just want me dead. They want to torture me until I die alone in my own filth. Julian, my own son, listens to his wife and doesn't say a damn word. He just smirks slightly. "Be patient, honey. The estate lawyer is prepping the final paperwork. I just need the old man to sign one more ratification of proof of life in front of witnesses, and then we're home free." I lower my head, the soup dripping down my chest. A hot tear, a real one this time, rolls down my cheek. It's not from sadness, it's from pure determination. There will be no nursing home. There will be no Palm Beach. There will only be a prison cell, and the hell on earth that I am going to personally build for them. The opportunity arrived 2 days later. Julian went out to play golf, that rich man's sport he plays terribly but loves to brag about. Chloe went to the day spa. They left me entirely alone, locking my door from the outside, absolutely certain that the paralyzed old vegetable couldn't drag himself 2 feet. As soon as the engine of Chloe's G-Wagon fades into the distance, my eyes snap open. Sharp. Awake. I throw the blanket off. My legs are still weak, thin after the coma, but pure, unadulterated rage is the best vitamin on the market. I grip the edge of the bed, clench my jaw, and force myself to stand. "Get up, Robert. You used to carry 100-pound bags of cement up 4 flights of stairs. You can damn well stand up now." I sway and crash to the floor. A sharp pain shoots through my hip. But I crawl. I drag myself inch by inch, using the wall for support, toward my old home office. Now Julian's den. The door is unlocked. He is too arrogant, too confident. I pull myself in. The room is a disaster area. Empty liquor bottles scattered everywhere, the crystal ashtray overflowing. On the massive oak desk where I used to sign multi-million-dollar real estate deals, there's a chaotic mountain of paperwork. I start digging. My hands shake as I flip through the pages, and then my blood runs cold. Dear God, it isn't just a will. It isn't just a transfer of ownership. Right in front of my eyes are collection notices, not from Bank of America or Chase. From LLCs with strange names that reek of organized crime, the West Side Syndicate, the Moretti brothers. Julian leveraged all his shares, the few I had put in his name, to take out massive loans from mob loan sharks. But that's not all. I find a thick, heavy folder buried in the bottom drawer. Secondary mortgage, Sterling estate, emergency bridge loan, collateral, corporate trucking fleet. My son doesn't just want to rob me. He's already destroyed everything. In the 3 months I was in the hospital, he completely embezzled the company. He liquidated heavy machinery at bargain basement prices just to get fast cash. He took out a second mortgage on this very house. He owes 3 years of back taxes to the IRS. The total debt. I do the math quickly in my head. The number makes me dizzy. It exceeds 60% of my total assets. The empire I spent 50 years building is teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. If I die, or if I sign those papers, all of this is going to be devoured by the banks and the mob in the blink of an eye. He is a moron. A colossal, monumental moron. He thinks he's going to be filthy rich when I die, but in reality, he is hugging a ticking time bomb. He wants to inherit the beautiful, shiny shell, but inside, it's completely hollow and packed with dynamite. Boom. The heavy iron gates slam shut in the distance. Damn it! They came back early. My heart threatens to pound out of my chest. I'm on the first floor, but my room is at the very end of the hall. I have to get back to bed before they walk in. I frantically grab the papers, shove them back into the drawer in the exact messy pile they were in. I turn around and trip over the trash can. I almost eat the floor. The clack of heels echoes in the foyer. Julian's loud laugh booms through the house. I grind my teeth, crawling, using my hands flat against the wall to drag myself faster. Every yard feels like a mile. "I'm gonna get some ice, babe," Julian yells. He's heading for the kitchen. My room is right next to the kitchen. I throw myself through my doorway, launch myself onto the cot, and pull the blanket completely over my head right as Julian's footsteps stop right outside my door. I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to muffle my heavy, ragged breathing. The door creaks open an inch. "Useless old bastard." "Still asleep," Julian mutters, and pulls the door shut. I open my eyes in the darkness beneath the blanket. I am drenched in a cold sweat. I survived by a hair, but now I know the absolute truth. I am not as rich as I thought I was. And my son isn't just an attempted murderer. He is the destroyer of the Sterling legacy. I can't just get revenge. I have to save what's left. And the only way to save it is to let him shoulder the colossal inheritance of debt that he himself created. I need an ally. Alone, in this crippled state, I can't beat them. The only person I trust is Dr. Alex Mitchell. Alex and I have been friends since we didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. He is the only one who never asked me for a dime, and the only one who had the balls to curse me out when I was making a mistake. The next day, Mitchell comes for a house call. Julian, as usual, stands in the doorway, keeping watch. He's terrified I might speak, even though he thinks I'm brain dead. Mitchell places the stethoscope on my chest. "All right, Robert." Deep breath. I inhale. And when Mitchell's hand rests on my left chest, I use the index finger of my right hand to tap lightly against the back of his hand. Tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Morse code. We learned it together in the army back in the day. SOS. Mitchell freezes. He looks me dead in the eyes. I return the gaze sharp, fully lucid, and pleading. I blink twice, very slowly. Mitchell is an old sea dog. He doesn't show an ounce of surprise. He turns to Julian, his face dead serious. "Julian, your father's blood pressure is dangerously high. I need to perform a rectal exam and insert a new catheter. It's a highly unpleasant and messy procedure. I strongly suggest you step out if you don't want to throw up your lunch." Julian makes a face of utter disgust instantly. Yeah. Do what you gotta do. I'll be on the patio." He vanishes faster than a fart in a hurricane. The second the door clicks shut, Mitchell locks the deadbolt. He spins around to look at me, whispering urgently, "Robert?" I sit up abruptly and grab his shoulder. "Alex, brother. Thank God." "Holy shit, Robert, I thought you had permanent brain damage," he practically yells, but catches himself. "Listen to me, Alex. We don't have much time." I speak quickly, my voice raspy but perfectly clear. It wasn't an accident. Julian cut my brake lines. I heard him confess it at the hospital. Mitchell turns chalk white. "Jesus Christ. That's attempted patricide. I'm calling the cops right now." He reaches for his iPhone. "No." I grab his wrist. "If you call the cops now, he has the money and the lawyers to post bail in an hour. He'll say I'm senile, that I'm hallucinating. And while he's out, he'll finish liquidating what little is left of my company. Then what do you want to do?" "I want justice, Alex. Not courtroom justice that can be bought with a fat check. I want divine justice. I want him to dig his own grave." I outline my insane plan. Fake my impending death to trick Julian into rushing the paperwork, effectively signing his own trap. I need him to secretly contact my old corporate lawyer. Mitchell stares at me for a long moment. Then he nods with a half smile. You're a crazy old bastard, Robert. But you were always the smartest guy in the neighborhood. I'm in. What do you need? I need you to tell Julian that I'm actively dying. Tell him I have a week left to live, tops. I need you to scare the living hell out of him so he accelerates the notary process. Mitchell pats my shoulder. Consider it done. Now lie back down and drool a little. I'm going to unlock the door. We exchange a conspiratorial look, two old men, ready to take down the arrogant punks. My 71st birthday. Julian decided to throw a massive blowout at the mansion. Not to celebrate that I'm alive, but to announce to all the shareholders and the local high society that the king is mentally dead. Long live the new king. The house is grotesquely over-decorated. Champagne is flowing like water. A live jazz band is playing at top volume. All the big fish in Chicago's real estate scene are here, licking the boots of the new boss, Julian Sterling. And me? They dragged me out and put me on display like a circus monkey. Chloe purposely dressed me in my most pathetic clothes, a baggy, mouse-gray silk pajama set that swallows me whole because I've lost so much weight. She conveniently forgot to comb my hair. I look like a homeless man who wandered into a royal gala. I sit in my wheelchair, tucked away in a dark corner, but just visible enough so everyone can see me and shake their heads in pity. Poor Mr. Sterling. Such a giant in his day. Look at him now, I hear an old partner whisper. Yeah, but Julian brings fresh ideas. It's a generational shift, says another. A man who once got on his knees to beg me for a bridge loan, now raising a glass to my son. I sit there trembling, acting out my vacant stare. But my ears catch everything. My eyes record every single treacherous face in the room. The peak of humiliation arrives when Julian steps up to the microphone on the stage. The spotlight hits him. He's wearing a custom-tailored Tom Ford suit, bought with my money. Thank you all for coming, he says, his voice dripping with fake emotion. Tonight, we celebrate the life of my father. He was a giant. But as you can see, he points at me. Every single eye in the room falls on the old man in pajamas in the corner. Time is unforgiving. My father is tired. His mind has decided to rest before his body does. Therefore, tonight, I officially assume the presidency of Sterling Enterprises to protect his legacy and guide it into the future. Applause. Cruel, thunderous applause. They are clapping for my downfall. They are clapping for the usurper. Julian walks down the steps, crystal glass in hand, heading straight for me, followed by photographers flashing their cameras. He leans down, bringing his mouth to my ear, flashing a massive, pearly white smile for the cameras. Smile, old man. It's your last party. Tomorrow, you're off to the state home. He clinks his champagne flute against the metal armrest of my wheelchair. Clink. In that exact split second, I look him dead in the eyes. For 1 second, a fraction of a heartbeat, I am this close to breaking character. I want to stand up, rip the microphone out of his hands, and expose him to the entire room. But I remember Mitchell. Patience, Robert. The trap has to snap shut tight. I swallow the bile, bitter as poison. I close my eyes and let my head loll to the side, pretending to fall asleep amidst the roaring crowd. Laugh, kid. Enjoy your big night. Because this isn't your coronation. It's your last meal before the execution. The morning after my humiliating birthday party, as the sun barely peeked through the dusty blinds of the maid's room, I knew the time had come. The old lion's patience had reached its absolute limit. I couldn't endure one more day of looking at the triumphant faces of these vultures in the house I built with my own blood and sweat. The clock read 9 a.m. I could hear Julian and Chloe arguing in the dining room, the same old topic. Money. I need more liquid cash, Julian. My platinum Amex was declined at the boutique. Chloe hissed. Shut up, woman. The accounts are frozen until the old man kicks the bucket or signs the final transfer. Just hold on a little longer. Julian snapped back, visibly stressed. Hold on a little longer. That's okay, son. Dad is going to help you, so you don't have to wait anymore. I'm going to introduce you to hell ahead of schedule. I begin my performance. First, the breathing. I make it sound raspy, wet, and heavy, like a broken accordion. Then I start moaning deep, guttural groans that rise from the bottom of my throat, sounding exactly like a wounded animal taking its last breaths. I reach my hand out and grab the tiny sliver of bar soap I hid under my pillow last night. It's an old trick I learned from professional panhandlers in the rougher neighborhoods when I was a kid. I bite off a tiny piece, chew it up, and let the thick white foam start bubbling out the corners of my mouth. I force my body to convulse. I stiffen my back into an arch. I thrash my arms and legs violently against the cheap mattress, making the metal springs shriek horribly. "Help! Help!" "Mr. Sterling!" The morning shift nurse, the only person in this house not in on their sick theater, and the only one with a shred of conscience, screams in absolute terror as she walks in to change me. She drops her plastic basin of water. All the color drains from her face. Julian comes sprinting down the hall, followed closely by Chloe. He's holding a mug of coffee, and when he sees me thrashing, eyes rolled into the back of my head, foaming at the mouth, he almost drops it. But in his eyes, there is no son's concern. There is only the sheer, raw panic of a man about to lose his golden goose. "Holy shit, call Mitchell, hurry!" Julian screams, but he doesn't step 1 foot closer to the bed, as if he's afraid my dying might be contagious. Dr. Mitchell arrives in 10 minutes, way faster than humanly possible, because he was already sitting at the Starbucks around the corner, waiting for my signal. He bursts into the room like a hurricane, physically shoves Julian and Chloe out into the hallway, and slams the door shut. Inside, the atmosphere instantly shifts. Mitchell winks at me and starts making noise. He rips open plastic syringe wrappers. He plays a frantic beep 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 heart monitor sound effect from an app on his phone and yells out fake medical orders to an empty room. "Epinephrine, 5 milligrams. We're losing him. Come on, Robert, breathe." After 15 minutes of intense resuscitation, Mitchell steps out of the room. He has played the role of the helpless, exhausted doctor flawlessly. He even rubbed some fake sweat on his brow and took off latex gloves smeared with a bit of fake blood, just some red cough syrup he smuggled in. The hallway is dead silent. Julian is leaning against the wall, gnawing on his fingernails. Chloe has her arms crossed, looking highly annoyed, as if my agonizing death is ruining her spa day. "I'm so sorry, Julian," Mitchell says, lowering his voice to a solemn whisper. "Your father has entered the final phase, multi-organ failure. His kidneys have totally collapsed, and his heart is operating at 20%. "How long?" Julian asks, his voice dry. "How long does he have?" 3 days, at the absolute most. Probably less if he suffers another episode. I am lying flat on the bed, spying through the crack in the slightly open door. I see Julian grab handfuls of his own hair, pacing back and forth like a caged beast. "Damn it, he can't die yet," he hisses, punching the drywall. The estate attorney said the living trust transfer documents wouldn't be finalized until Friday. Today is Tuesday. If he dies today... Mitchell steps closer, placing a comforting hand on Julian's shoulder, delivering the final psychological death blow. "Listen, kid, I know this is incredibly hard, but you need to think with a cool head. If Robert dies today without signing the living trust transfer, the estate immediately goes into probate. Do you know what that means?" Julian shakes his head, utterly lost. "It means the IRS will freeze absolutely everything. Bank accounts, properties, vehicles. They will launch a forensic audit going back years. They'll take 40% or more in estate taxes. And you won't see a single dime for months. Maybe years." The word audit makes Julian turn a sickly shade of green. He has stolen way too much money. An IRS audit wouldn't just cost him cash. It would send him straight to federal prison for corporate embezzlement. He needs legal ownership of the LLC before I die so he can bury his tracks. "What do I do, Alex? Tell me, what do I do?" He grabs the doctor by the lapels of his coat, physically shaking. "Get him to sign tomorrow. Pay the notary whatever he wants to rush over here as an emergency. I'm going to pump your father full of a cocktail of powerful corticosteroids and stimulants. He will experience what we call terminal lucidity, a brief window of absolute mental clarity right before the end. Use those few minutes, Julian. Have him sign everything over. It's your only way out." Julian lets go of the coat. His eyes gleam with a greedy, vicious spark of hope. "You are a genius, Doc. I'm calling the lawyer right now. Tell him to prep the ironclad papers, the fast ones." He turns to his wife. "Call Gary. Tell him I'll pay him triple his rate if he's here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Laying in that foul-smelling bed, I wipe the last bit of soap foam from my mouth. A bitter smile stretches across my face. "Wow, kid. I am giving you the chance to see your father fully conscious one last time, and all you see are numbers in a bank account. Your greed has made you completely blind. You are racing against the clock to steal from me, totally unaware that you are sprinting to put the noose around your own neck. For the theater to work perfectly, I needed Julian to trust me blindly. I had to erase any lingering paranoia in that calculating head of his. I had to give him the one thing he had craved his entire life. Not money, but my approval. That night, Mitchell kept his promise. He injected me with heavy B vitamins and a highly diluted drop of adrenaline. It didn't cure anything, because I'm not actually sick, but it brought the color back to my face, made my eyes sharp, and stopped my tremors completely naturally. I asked to see Julian alone. Just my son. I want to see my boy. Julian walked into the room. He had showered, practically bathing in expensive Tom Ford cologne, trying to look the part of the regal heir, but I could still smell his fear. "Dad? Dr. Mitchell says you're doing a bit better," he says, testing the waters, keeping a safe distance from the bed. I make a show of struggling to sit up, resting my back against the cold metal bars of the headboard. I pat the edge of the mattress next to me. "Come, sit here." "I don't bite," I say, my voice weak but incredibly warm, a tone I probably haven't used with him in 20 years. Julian sits down cautiously. I look at him. I look at him deeply. He has his mother's eyes. He has my nose. But his mouth, that thin, mocking smirk, belongs to that vile piece of trash who abandoned his mother, but I raised him from a baby. I changed his diapers. I taught him how to ride a bike. I bandaged his scraped knees. The love was real. And the pain is real too. "Julian," I begin, forcing tears into my eyes. I know I'm dying. I can feel the cold settling into my bones. "Don't say that, Dad." He recites the cliché mechanically. "No, listen to me. I've had a lot of time to think, lying in this bed." I reach out and take his hand. A soft, sweaty hand. "I was way too hard on you, son. I always demanded that you be a shark, a street fighter. I wanted you to be exactly like me. But you are different." I watch the muscles in his face relax. This is exactly what he has wanted to hear his entire life, that his failures aren't his fault, but mine for being too strict. "Forgive me, Julian. I offer the fakest, yet most necessary, apology of my life. Forgive me for not handing you the keys to the kingdom sooner. I was scared, but now I see. Maybe I was the one who was wrong." I look him dead in the eyes, pouring every ounce of acting ability into the final blow. "I'm scared, son. I'm terrified that when I'm gone, the board of directors will eat you alive. I'm terrified the federal government will strip away everything I built for you. I want to protect you one last time. I want to give you everything now. Tomorrow." Julian sits there, stunned. He swallows loudly. The last shred of doubt in his eyes evaporates, entirely replaced by a bottomless, greedy euphoria. He believes it because he wants to believe it. His ego is far too massive to even consider that this is a trap. He genuinely believes he deserves to inherit it all, and that my deathbed repentance is simply what he's owed. "Dad, thank you. I swear to you, I will take care of it. I'll make the company grow," he says, his voice shaking with feigned emotion. "I know you will. Have the notary here tomorrow. I will sign the total transfer. I want to close my eyes knowing that you are the king." I squeeze his hand one last time and let it go, pretending to be utterly exhausted. "Get some rest, Dad. Tomorrow is going to be a big day." He stands up and pulls the blanket up over my chest. For the first time in years, he tucks me in with something resembling kindness. He steps out of the room and shuts the door. The second his footsteps fade down the hall, the tender smile vanishes from my face. In its place is a coldness that chills the marrow of my bones. "Take care of it." "Oh, absolutely, son. You're going to take care of a mountain of colossal debt that you created yourself. You're going to take care of the federal prison sentence currently hanging over your head." I close my eyes. A hot tear drops onto my pillow. I am not crying out of a fear of dying. I am crying for the little boy he once was, the boy who died somewhere inside that greedy, soulless man. Tomorrow, I will no longer be his father. I will be his judge. My revenge isn't based on physical violence. It's based on a highly sophisticated legal loophole, a classic bait and switch. Julian and his dirty lawyer, Arthur Pierce, drafted a contract called a total transfer of real and personal property. The document explicitly lists everything: the mansion, the personal bank accounts, the blue-chip stocks, the classic car collection. If I sign that, I am thrown out on the street the very same second. But what they don't know is that I, along with Attorney Hayes, my oldest, most loyal friend and the sharpest corporate legal mind in Chicago, prepared a little surprise of our own. During those long, agonizing nights I spent wide awake while everyone thought I was in a coma, I secretly texted Hayes using Mitchell's phone. We drafted a second set of documents, a dark blue legal folder, completely identical to theirs. The same weight of paper, the exact same font, the identical margins. The first page, with the massive title and the involved parties, was a perfect replica. But from page 2 onward, the content changed completely. In my version, I don't donate my personal assets. I transfer the total ownership and full legal liability of a single corporate entity, Sterling Investment Group, LLC. Here's the kicker. First, 6 months ago, right when I discovered Julian's massive embezzlement, I secretly transferred all of my clean assets, the liquid cash, the unmortgaged commercial real estate, the secure patents, into an irrevocable Delaware blind trust. The sole beneficiaries are Catholic orphanages, and I retain lifetime administrative rights. Julian's name appears absolutely nowhere. Second, the Sterling Investment Group, LLC that I am handing over to Julian is, in reality, a completely gutted shell company. It holds all the toxic assets, the massive bank loans Julian secretly took out using the company's name, 5 years of unpaid corporate IRS taxes, and, most importantly, the illicit high-interest loans from the West Side mob, which I quietly bought out the debt for through dummy corporations. By signing the acceptance of the total transfer of this specific LLC, Julian assumes unlimited personal finance. The hardest part was figuring out how to swap the two folders right under the notary's nose. That night, at 3 a.m., the mansion is as silent as a tomb. Mitchell is on night watch. He slowly pushes my door open. "It's time, Robert." I sit up. My whole body aches, but pure adrenaline is flooding my veins. Mitchell helps me into the wheelchair. We move like ghosts toward the grand living room. The cold moonlight spills through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the massive oak desk where Julian left the blue folder perfectly staged for tomorrow's ceremony. He's way too arrogant. He fully believes the only people in this house are a crippled old man and his dumb wife, so he didn't even bother locking the papers in the floor safe. I roll up to the desk. There it is, his blue folder. I pull the fake folder out from inside my pajamas. My heart is pounding at 100 miles an hour. If Chloe wakes up to get a glass of water, or if Julian comes downstairs to check, this whole thing blows up in my face. I compare the two folders under the beam of Mitchell's penlight. Perfect. Impossible to tell them apart with the naked eye. I open Julian's folder and quickly scan the pages. Son of a bitch. Clause 5. Mr. Robert Sterling agrees to vacate the primary premises within 24 hours of signing. He intends to throw me out on the street the very next day. The absolute last drop of pity I had for him evaporates into thin air. I limp over to the massive stone fireplace, where the embers are still glowing red. I toss Julian's folder onto the coals and throw a lit match on top. I stand there, watching the fire devour those pages dripping with greed, turning my son's grand plans into black ash. Then I walk back to the desk. I place my booby-trapped folder in the exact same spot, adjusting the angle so it looks utterly untouched. "Let's go," I whisper to Mitchell. We head back to the maid's room. I lie down, my heart racing, but my soul feels incredibly light. The trap is set. The beast is in the crosshairs. All that's left is to pull the trigger. 10 a.m. Judgment Day. The grand living room of the Sterling estate has been transformed into a highly solemn stage. Julian hired a cleaning crew at the crack of dawn. There are fresh bouquets of lilies everywhere, attempting to mask the stench of rot that permeates this family. Julian is wearing a tailored black suit, his hair slicked back with expensive pomade. He's pacing back and forth, checking his Rolex every 10 seconds. The anxiety is practically oozing out of his pores. Chloe is lounging on the white sofa in a stunning, high-slit red designer dress, holding a mimosa, even though it's barely morning. She's scrolling on her iPad, looking at luxury chalets in the Swiss Alps. She has already spent my money in her head. The notary, Gary Gordon, has arrived. He's a sweaty, overweight guy with the shifty eyes of a cornered rat. I know him well. He's Julian's weekly poker buddy. He had his legal license suspended for 6 months for real estate fraud, but Julian uses him because he asks no questions and follows orders. Mitchell wheels me out of the maid's room. I slip flawlessly back into character. Head slumped to my chest, a string of drool hanging from my lip, my arms twisted rigidly in my lap. They put me in an old, oversized suit because I've lost so much weight, which only makes me look even more pathetic and frail. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling," the notary says, his voice so sickeningly sweet it makes me want to vomit. "We are here today to execute your final wishes, exactly as your son instructed." I don't answer. I just let out a few hollow, guttural noises. I keep my eyes completely vacant. Julian rushes over and drops to one knee beside my wheelchair, grabbing my hand, the very same hand he wanted to snap in half at the hospital. "Take it easy, Dad. Everything is going to be all right. This is to protect the legacy. So I can take better care of you," he says, his voice vibrating with fake emotion. He's putting on such a good performance that I think he might actually believe his own lies. Chloe stands up and marches over to the desk, staring intensely at the blue folder. She has absolutely no idea she is staring at her own death warrant. "Hurry up, Gary. The old man looks like he's fading," she snaps. The notary begins the legal process. He opens the folder, my folder. He starts reading the legal clauses in a fast, monotonous, bored voice. "In the state of Illinois, at 10 a.m., the parties hereby agree to cede the totality of corporate rights, assets, and liabilities." He reads lightning fast, skipping right over the vital words. Liabilities. He saw the word, but brushed it off. In corporate takeovers, transferring debts is standard procedure. He doesn't have the slightest clue that in this specific case, the liabilities are 10 times larger than the assets. He's also too lazy to double-check the EIN or the attached schedule of assets. He just saw that the title page looked right, the names matched, and most importantly, he felt the thick envelope of cash Julian just handed him in his jacket pocket. "Do you, Mr. Robert Sterling, agree to cede total and absolute control to your son, Julian Sterling, forfeiting any and all future claims?" he asks, peering at me through his thick, Coke bottle glasses. The entire massive room holds its breath. Every single eye is locked onto me. I nod, excruciatingly slowly. A weak, trembling nod. "Yes, give it to me," I whisper, my voice cracked and broken. Julian lets out a massive, shuddering sigh of relief. He pulls out the gold-plated Mont Blanc fountain pen, the one I gave him when he graduated college. "Here you go, Dad. Just sign right here. And here." He presses the heavy pen into my trembling hand. He reaches out to grip my hand, wanting to physically guide the pen. "No," Mitchell intervenes sharply. "He has to do it on his own. If you assist his hand, a judge could throw out the transfer based on physical coercion." "Step back." Julian quickly pulls his hands away. "Come on, Dad. You can do this. One signature, and you can rest forever." I grip the pen. The gold nib touches the heavy paper. This is the exact moment I have been waiting for through 3 agonizing months of being bedridden. The moment where all the physical pain, the sheer humiliation, and the silent fury are going to detonate. My hand shakes violently over the paper. The first stroke of ink comes out jagged and ugly. Julian is tracking the tip of the pen with his eyes, sweating bullets. He is silently praying to whatever God he believes in that I don't drop dead of a heart attack right this second. I inhale deeply. The air fills my lungs, supercharged with the sheer force of pure hatred and absolute justice. Suddenly, the trembling stops entirely. My right hand turns as hard and steady as cold rolled steel. I grip the barrel of the pen tightly. My fingers, those thick, calloused fingers that used to tighten lug nuts and grip cement trowels, regain every ounce of their original, crushing strength. I drive the pen into the paper. Slash, slash, slash. I don't sign a pathetic, shaky X. I sign my full name, Robert Sterling. The letters are massive, bold, elegant, and sharp as a razor blade, the exact same signature that used to endorse million-dollar checks. I underline the signature with a stroke so violently aggressive that the gold nib rips right through the thick parchment paper. I flip to the next page, sign, next page, sign. My speed is fluid, precise, like a machine. The living room plunges into a dead, absolute silence. Julian's jaw practically drops to the floor. He stares at my hand, moving with lightning agility. utterly unable to process what his eyes are seeing. Chloe's crystal mimosa glass slips from her fingers and shatters on the imported rug. Crash. As I finish the very last page, I snap the cap back onto the fountain pen. The sharp click echoes like a gunshot in the silent room. I lift my head slowly. My neck is no longer slumped to the side. I straighten my spine. I roll my shoulders back. The glassy, idiotic glaze in my eyes vanishes instantly. In its place is a gaze made of pure hellfire, sharp as a straight razor. The look of the old lion who has just woken up from a very long winter. I look dead into Julian's face. I reach out, grab the heavy crystal water glass off the table that Julian had left for me. I lift it effortlessly with one hand, without spilling a single drop, and down the whole thing in one gulp. Ah. I was dying of thirst, I say. My voice is no longer a broken whisper. It is booming, deep, dripping with absolute authority, vibrating against the high ceilings of the mansion. It is the voice that used to silence hundreds of screaming construction workers on a busy site. Julian stumbles backward 2 steps, turning as pale as a fresh corpse. He looks at me as if the devil himself just crawled out of the floorboards. His knees are physically knocking together. "Dad? You, he stammers, completely incapable of forming a coherent sentence. Gary the notary drops his glasses onto the table. I smile, a slow, chilling, merciless half-smile. I push the wheels of my chair backward, plant both of my feet firmly onto the hardwood floor, and stand up slowly. I stand up tall, imposing. My massive shadow falls heavily over my son, who is shrinking in pure terror. "What's wrong, son? You look like you just saw a ghost," I say in a mocking tone, taking slow, deliberate steps toward him. I snatch the legal document he just made me sign and slap it hard against his chest. "Congratulations. You wanted my signature? There it is. It's fully legal. The document is all yours." Out of pure reflex, Julian clutches the paper to his chest, hugging it like a life preserver. Even though he is utterly terrified by my miraculous recovery, his greed completely overrides his logic. In his sick head, he's still thinking, who cares if the old man woke up? I have the signature. I won. I have the signature. It's mine. Julian screams hysterically, whipping his head around to look at Chloe for backup. I let out a loud, booming laugh. A laugh entirely devoid of joy. "Yes, Julian. It's all yours." I lean in close to his face, whispering, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "You just signed your own death warrant, you colossal idiot. You thought you were burying a senile old man, but you just dug up your worst nightmare. The game is over, kid. The hunting season just started." The massive room drowns in a suffocating silence. The only sound is Julian's frantic, hyperventilating breaths. He stares at me, standing right in front of him, my shadow covering him like a volcano right before it blows. He backs up. He awkwardly bumps into the back of the sofa, clumsy as a toddler caught stealing candy. But he wasn't stealing candy. He was stealing his father's life. Dad. "But how?" the doctor said. He stammers, every drop of blood drained from his face. I don't answer. I step forward. My leather shoes clack against the hardwood. Clack, clack, dripping with authority. Every single step is a nail in his coffin. I corner him right next to those hideous abstract paintings Chloe bought. I look deep into his eyes blown wide with absolute primal fear. Smack. I swing my right arm. My rough, calloused hand, the hand of the old mechanic from Halsted Street, connects with his jaw in a monumental, earth-shattering slap. The sharp crack echoes off the walls, shattering the air. The blow is so devastatingly hard it snaps Julian's head to the side. He collapses face first over the back of the white sofa. A thick line of blood instantly trickles from the corner of his mouth. "That is for the brakes, you piece of garbage!" I roar, and my voice makes the crystal chandelier rattle. Julian clutches his face, his eyes practically bugging out of his skull. He wants to deny it. He wants to keep playing the role of the devoted son. The brakes? I don't know what you're talking about. It was an accident." "Do not lie to me," I scream, slicing right through his pathetic defense. I grab the Apple TV remote off the coffee table and click it. The 8.5-inch flat screen mounted on the wall flashes to life. I synced it to the hidden DVR server I secretly installed in the garage months ago, completely off the grid from the home's main security system. The black and white security footage is crystal clear. The date and time stamp flash in the corner, exactly 2 days before my crash. On the massive screen, Julian creeps into the garage. He looks over his shoulder, acting paranoid. He slides underneath my old Ford F-150. 2 minutes later, he slides back out, holding a pair of heavy-duty wire cutters in his right hand. He stands up, wipes the sweat off his forehead, looks directly at the camera he assumed was disabled, and smiles. A cold, dead killer's smile. Chloe lets out a piercing shriek when she sees the tape. "You evil old bastard! You were recording us? You faked this whole thing? You're a monster!" I snap my head toward my daughter-in-law. The look I give her is so violently cold that she immediately shuts her mouth, swallowing the rest of her insults. "I am the monster?" I ask, my voice dropping to a dangerous, gravelly register. "You two planned my murder while eating at my dining table. You two were divvying up my life savings while I was literally fighting to breathe on a ventilator." I point a shaking finger toward the massive oak front doors. "And you, Chloe, get out of my house, right now, with exactly what you are wearing. No suitcases, no jewelry. And you sure as hell aren't taking the Mercedes. Get out." Chloe looks at Julian, desperate for him to defend her, but he is too busy trembling on the floor, staring at the HD proof of his own felony. He knows that with that videotape, not a single defense attorney in America can save him from a premeditated, attempted murder charge. But then, a deranged spark of absolute madness flashes in Julian's eyes. He suddenly remembers the legal document he has clutched to his chest. Julian lets out a weird, twisted chuckle that quickly morphs into the full-blown laughter of a lunatic. He scrambles to his feet, wipes the blood off his chin, and holds up the paper with my signature like it's a magical shield. "It doesn't matter! None of it matters!" he screams, his eyes wild and unhinged. "You already signed it! Look, it's your signature! It's an airtight legal contract." He whips his head toward the terrified notary, who is shaking like a leaf. "Tell him, Gary! Tell him it's legally binding!" The notary stutters, sweating profusely through his cheap suit. Technically, yes. The signature was executed in front of a licensed notary public. The document is binding. Julian turns back to me, his face stretched into a crazed, triumphant grin despite the massive purple welt forming on his cheek. "You see that, old man? I own it. I own the corporation. I own the real estate. I own the offshore accounts. It is all mine. I can hire the most expensive criminal defense lawyers in New York with your money and have that video thrown out of court. You gave me absolute power." I look at him, slowly shaking my head in profound pity. His stupidity is vastly larger than his malice. I walk calmly over to the wet bar. I pour myself a neat glass of 5-year-old Pappy Van Winkle bourbon. I take a slow sip, letting the beautiful, warm burn settle my frayed nerves. "You are absolutely right, Julian. I signed it. And it is completely legal," I say, my voice totally relaxed. "But did you actually read what you just signed?" "Of course I read it. Total transfer of Sterling Investment Group, LLC, he screams. At that exact second, the massive double front doors swing wide open. Attorney Thomas Hayes, my oldest friend and most brilliant legal advisor, strides into the foyer. Walking right behind him is NYPD Detective Captain Reynolds, flanked by 2 heavily armed state troopers. "What the hell is this? Get them out of my house!" Julian backs away, panicked. Hayes walks straight past Julian without even glancing at him. He adjusts his glasses, pulls a pristine blue legal folder from his battered leather briefcase, and nods to me with deep respect. "Mr. Julian Sterling," Hayes begins, his tone sharp and clinical as a surgeon's scalpel. "The document your father just signed, which you accepted and legally ratified with your own signature, is the total transfer of ownership of the corporate entity known as Sterling Investment Group, LLC. "Exactly. The holding company that owns everything," Julian yells, though his voice is starting to crack. I don't let Hayes answer. I slam my crystal bourbon glass down onto the bar, clack. "That LLC doesn't own a damn thing anymore, son," I say, stepping right up to him, enunciating every single word so it hits him like a sledgehammer. 6 months ago, when I first caught wind of your embezzlement and your sick gambling debts, I legally transferred every single liquid asset, all the unmortgaged commercial real estate, and all corporate patents into an irrevocable blind trust established in Delaware. I am the sole lifetime administrator. And upon my death, every red cent goes directly to Catholic charities. Julian's face drains of color, shifting from flushed red to dead white. His brain is finally starting to process the math. Then, what did you give me? What did I sign? He whispers, his voice totally broken. I gave you the empty shell, I say, my voice dripping with ice. I gave you the bankrupt corporate shell you used to illegally secure those loans. I gave you the LLC that currently owes the IRS $50 million in unpaid back taxes. And I gave you the corporation that defaulted on its loans to the West Side Syndicate. I lean in so close my lips are almost touching his ear. By signing that total transfer, you voluntarily assumed absolute personal liability, both legal and financial, for every single one of those debts. They are no longer corporate liabilities, Julian. They are your personal debts. Gary the notary physically drops his pen onto the floor. He knows exactly who the West Side Syndicate is. They are the most brutal, unforgiving loan sharks in the Midwest. Congratulations, Julian. I pat him twice on the cheek, right over the stinging red handprint I just gave him. You are now the proud owner of $50 million in debt. And the boys from the West Side? They aren't as patient as I am. They don't wait around for you to die to collect. They collect while you're still breathing. The financial death blow is so catastrophic that Julian's legs simply give out. He collapses to his knees on the hardwood floor. The paper flutters from his grip. The document that, just 3 minutes ago, was the key to his kingdom, is now his absolute death sentence. But the parasite in him refuses to die. Pure survival instinct kicks in. He physically crawls across the floor, wraps his arms around my legs, and begins to sob uncontrollably, snot and drool running down his face. Dad, please. I'm your son. You can't do this to me, he wails like a dying animal. I'm your blood. I made a mistake. I know I did. But I'm your own flesh and blood. You can't let them kill me. I'm the only piece of mom you have left. Chloe drops to her knees as well, begging. Mr. Sterling, please, have mercy. We're family. Family is blood. Blood. That single word detonates the final powder keg of fury inside me, the rage I had buried for 40 years. Blood? I ask, my voice echoing with an infinite, bottomless bitterness. You think you are my blood? Of course I am. I'm your son. Julian looks up, his eyes bloodshot and frantic. I reach into the inside pocket of my suit jacket. I pull out a small, old, heavily yellowed envelope. I stare at it for a second, then throw it directly at his face like a piece of trash. Open it. Julian scrambles to pick it up with violently trembling hands. He almost tears the paper in half. He pulls out a decades-old medical document. He reads it frantically. His eyes lock onto the conclusion printed in bold black ink at the bottom. Probability of paternity, 0%. His mouth hangs open. He is completely mute. His entire universe just shattered into a million pieces. He didn't just lose the money. He lost his identity. I always knew, Julian, I say, my voice dropping, exhausted by the weight of the past. Your mother confessed it to me on her deathbed. She had a fling, a youthful mistake with some lowlife who worked at the meatpacking plant. A coward who skipped town the second he found out she was pregnant. The grand living room is dead silent. Even Captain Reynolds lowers his head, respecting the raw agony in the room. I accepted you, I say, my voice finally beginning to crack. The tears are fighting to spill over. I gave you my last name. I gave you my home. I loved you more than my own life. I hoped that my parenting, that my unconditional love, would override your genetics. I prayed that love would be stronger than the dirty blood of your biological father. I lean down and grab him roughly by the chin, forcing him to look me in the eye. But I was dead wrong. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You are exactly like him. A parasite. A thief. A traitor. The dirty blood won. Julian lets out a horrifying, agonizing scream, like a slaughtered animal. No, it's not true. He lost everything. He is not a Sterling. He has zero legal right to any inheritance. He is just a stranger who tried to brutally murder the man who gave him the world. You are not my son. I stand up straight, brushing my hands off as if wiping away dirt. My son died the day he decided to cut the brake lines on my truck for a payout. You are just a total stranger who owes me a hell of a lot of money. The air in the room is suffocatingly heavy with despair. Julian is curled into a fetal position on the floor, clutching the DNA test, violently shaking as if he's suffering a seizure. He is completely broken. "That's enough," I say, snapping back to my icy, authoritative tone. "Captain Reynolds, take them away." The captain gives a sharp hand signal. Two massive state troopers step forward. They haul Julian up by his armpits roughly. Click, click. The harsh, metallic sound of the handcuffs ratcheting shut. That cold sound is the absolute final period at the end of Julian's life of luxury. Chloe lets out a piercing shriek as a trooper forcefully cuffs her hands behind her back. "Let go of me. I didn't do anything. It was all him. The brakes were his idea. I just wanted to move to Florida." Her absolute cowardice reveals itself at the very end. Julian whips his head around, glaring at his wife with pure, unadulterated hatred. Even their marriage dissolved instantly in the face of prison time. "Shut up, you treacherous bitch," Julian hisses. Then he turns back to me, sobbing, begging one last time. "Dad, Dad, please. I swear to God I'll change. I'll go to rehab. I'll do whatever you want. Please don't let them take me." Captain Reynolds steps forward. "Mr. Sterling, we have more than enough evidence with the DVR footage and the recorded confession to put them away for attempted murder in the first degree, aggravated assault, grand larceny, and wire fraud. Plus, the feds are going to want to have a very long chat with him about that $50 million. "How many years?" I ask, my voice completely dry. "With the attempted murder and the financial enhancements? 25 years minimum, probably 30. They're going to rot in federal lockup, sir." I nod slowly. 30 years. When he gets out, he'll be an old man, older than I am now, and without a single dime to his name. That sounds like justice. As they physically drag Julian toward the front doors, he twists his head around, his desperate eyes locking onto mine one last time. His tear-streaked face shows a profound, shattering regret. But it's 30 years too late. "Dad, I love you. I'm sorry." I turn my back to him. I can't look at him anymore. My heart feels like someone is pouring battery acid over it, but my logical mind knows this is the only way. "Get him out of here," I order. "And take the notary too, for aiding and abetting." Gordon squeals like a stuck pig as the troopers grab him by the collar. Outside, the police sirens begin to wail, shattering the quiet peace of the wealthy Chicago suburb. The flashing red and blue lights dance violently across the empty gray walls of the living room. Then, the sirens slowly fade into the distance, leaving behind a terrifying, absolute silence in the mansion. Everyone is gone. Mitchell gave my shoulder a firm squeeze and left. He knows I need to be alone. Attorney Hayes packed up his briefcase and quietly showed himself out. I am completely alone in a 10,000-square-foot mansion. The silence wraps around me. It weighs heavier than any noise ever could. I walk over and sit down heavily on my old, beaten-up leather recliner. The only piece of furniture I refused to throw away from when we were poor. I reach for the bottle of Pappy Van Winkle and pour myself another full glass. I won. The plan was executed flawlessly. The enemy has been eliminated, the wealth secured. I proved to the entire world that Robert Sterling is not some senile old fool who can be pushed around. But then, why do I feel so damn cold? I look around the massive living room. It is too big, too empty. I remember when Julian took his very first steps right here on this floor. I remember his little toddler laugh, and Martha clapping her hands. "Bravo, baby, come to Daddy." That memory slices through my chest like a butcher's knife. I am the one who just sent that little boy to a maximum security prison. Even though he doesn't share my DNA, he held my entire heart for 30 years. And today, I had to crush that heart with my own two bare hands, just to survive with my dignity intact. I pull my leather wallet from my slacks. I slide out a tiny faded photograph of Martha. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," I whisper to the photo, my voice finally breaking completely. "I failed you. I couldn't save him. I had to choose between justice and love, and I chose justice. I pray to God you can forgive me, wherever you are." I place the photograph gently on the side table. I pick up my cell phone and dial the number for the Catholic orphanage on the south side, the one where I grew up. "Sister Margaret," I say when they answer, my voice thick and raspy. "It's Robert Sterling." "Yes, I've made my final decision. I want to fully activate the Delaware Trust. Everything. The commercial buildings, the liquid accounts, the stock portfolios." I hear a sharp gasp of shock from the other end of the line. I only wish to retain the right to live in this house until I pass, and a modest monthly stipend to cover my groceries and medical expenses. Yes, the rest is for the kids. For the children who have absolutely nobody in this world. Use it to build schools, sister. Build trade workshops. Teach them how to work. Teach them how to fish. Don't just hand them the fish. Make sure they learn the profound value of calloused hands, not the poison of an easy inheritance. I hang up the phone. It feels like a 1,000-pound weight has just been lifted off my chest. I stand up and walk over to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sprawling, manicured lawn. It's pitch black outside now. The stars are barely fighting to shine through the light pollution of the Chicago skyline. I raise my crystal glass, watching the amber liquid catch the faint moonlight. People always say, blood is thicker than water. That stupid saying haunted me my entire life. I smile. A bitter, mocking, but fiercely proud survivor's smile. I knock the bourbon back in one shot, letting the sharp burn of the alcohol scorch its way down my throat. Yeah, blood is thick, I whisper loudly to the empty, dark room. But money is the acid that dissolves everything. Money rots the blood and poisons the water. I slam the crystal glass down hard onto the oak table. Clack. Cheers to those who are gone, I whisper to the shadows. And may hell collect their rent. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to drive down to the city pound and adopt a dog, a mangy street mutt. Because at the end of the day, a dog will always be fiercely loyal to the hand that feeds it, and a dog will never figure out how to use a pair of wire cutters on your brake lines. If this story captivated you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. To hear the next story, click on the video on the left side of your screen. Thanks for watching.